Let's go to my friend Tom Dupree on all of this, a former Deputy Assistant Attorney General. Tom, I do remember a time when the president said he and his son never talked about his son's business affairs at all. It didn't even come up in passing. Now we've learned that that's maybe not quite the case. So I'm always wondering whether this simmering issue of who knew what and when, might not be such a over and done thing. What do you think?
I don't think it's over and done by any stretch, Neil. And for the reason you mentioned, the White House's story on this whole thing has evolved. It's really been a shifting narrative that began with the president had no involvement in Hunter's business dealings. And now we've morphed into, well, he wasn't directly involved, didn't have direct contact and that sort of thing. And I think what's going on here is just creating enough smoke to continue this investigation and to continue warranting, bringing witnesses in, hearing from Hunter Biden himself to figure out if there's actually fire there. I think Hunter Biden's deposition, frankly, gave the investigators raised more questions that the investigators are going to want to continue to pursue.
In the meantime, I want to switch to the former President Donald Trump, and he might be just benefiting by, legal timing that could push some, if not all, of the remaining criminal cases back. And I'm talking about the Supreme Court, I guess, that will hear oral arguments the next to last week in April. That will delay a number of trials, potentially. I'm just wanting to get your sense of that.
Yes, and here the big point, Neil, is that delay is Trump's friend. If Trump wins the election in November, the legal landscape changes in a heartbeat. Those two federal prosecutions will go away the moment Trump is inaugurated. He will direct the Department of Justice to drop the cases. I think the Supreme Court's announcement this week that they will take on this immunity question is another benefit for Trump. At a minimum, it is going to delay the January 6th trial by several months, and I think it will make it exceedingly difficult for the government to bring him before a jury in Washington, D.C. before the election in November.
And you think about the Florida documents case. The president was in Fort Pierce yesterday, dealing with that. The judge there certainly is indicating that this could be pushed off. I know the Trump folks want it in August. There's this 10-week plan where you push that off before really things get started, which means it could be a post-election event if it happens at all. So looking at all those cases, where do you see the one problem or one issue for Donald Trump?
Well, I think the big question right now is what happens with that classified documents case, if that can be tried before the election. To your point, the Trump lawyers made what to me was somewhat of a surprising concession that they said they would be willing to have a trial on that case in August. That was a bit surprising to me. I thought they were going to take a hardline position, say no trial before the election, full stop. They've created the opportunity for the judge to schedule an August trial date in that classified documents case. That said, even if the judge schedules an August trial date, I think there's a very good likelihood that that date would get pushed back because the parties are going to have to look through reams of classified documents and do all the work that goes into preparing a federal criminal trial.
I should have explained that the Supreme Court is taking up this issue of immunity where Donald Trump says as president, is immune from all the things that are coming up right now, the charges that are coming up. Let's say the Supreme Court ultimately agrees with that. If it gets to that, then aren't all these cases automatically potentially shelved?
Absolutely. If the Supreme Court accepts the former president's arguments on immunity, which I should emphasize are very aggressive, very broad, but if the Supreme Court agrees with it, then yes, that would be a complete game changer because it would basically immunize Trump from virtually any prosecution arising from actions that he took while he was in office. Another possibility is the Supreme Court will rule in Trump's favor, but on narrower grounds. They might say, well, there is some immunity, but maybe or maybe not. It doesn't go so far as to address these charges. But in that case, I think what would happen is you would have more delay because then the judges would have to look at the individual charges in each case, hold it up against what the Supreme Court has said is the immunity standard, and decide which of these charges can actually move forward.
I don't know how you keep track of it all. I'm dizzy when I just follow this. But Tom, thank you very much, my friend. Tom Dupree.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.